From my perspective, it would be to listen to smaller businesses more, give them a little bit more attention like we do the larger industries rather. I was in the Fontaine Vinery yard. I managed to campaign to get us small yards at Griffiths, and that was that made a positive impact to small businesses. And if we could do lots more little things like that, it would help smaller businesses to improve themselves, to invest in themselves. We need more affordable places for them to actually operate out of. I had something else to say. Too busy listening to everyone else. I'm just...
Rhoda and I'm from the cartel. Aureni, an asset to be nurtured or a liability to be canned? And if it's the former, should it have a monopoly?
Candidate Ross LeBrun.
The problem with Aureni is we need it, and where would we be without it at the moment, where other airlines are going bust, they need subsidies, they're getting bailouts. But I don't know the answer to fixing it without a review and seeing where the management may be going wrong. But the problem we have is we just don't have the passengers. We don't have the reasons for people to be coming to the island. We need to find ways to fill the planes, basically.
Yes, no, depends, or don't know. GSTs, would you support it?
No, I wouldn't support it. As a small business owner myself, it would affect my business. I'd become the state's tax collector. I'd potentially have to swallow it out of my profit margin, which wouldn't do me any favours. It would hurt the lower earners in the shops buying essentials, nappies, kids' clothes, food, all sorts. It's probably time the islands and the other offshore jurisdictions spoke to each other and started asking the question about changing 010.
Brian Gabriel from the Vale. How does little old Guernsey stand up to big, bully Boris when he's doing his Brexit negotiations, especially for our fishing grounds? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to be honest, I don't even know where to start with that one. I don't want to talk in realms that aren't my experience, so I'm just going to hand that one on. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Andy Offen from the Vale. I asked this on Tuesday, but I'd like to ask tonight's panel, how much sooner, or for that matter later, would you like to see anti-discrimination law extended to all grounds?
Candidate Ross LeBrun.
I was at the presentation for the discrimination legislation, the start of the consultation at Beausejour, and there was very few other businesses there and business group representatives, and the fault lies at their feet that they didn't engage better. But it didn't concern me because I actually engaged. I went on the small working group for small businesses and found that we're not going to be expected to employ people that weren't capable of the work. It was only going to be reasonable adjustments. I work with the Guernsey Employment Trust and have actually taken on staff from them and put them in placements that have resulted in permanent positions. I'm the only business based in construction that signed up to the disability charter here, and that was over 2 years ago, and there's still no one else signed up to it. There's a lot of businesses that have unreasonable fears about what the legislation means. We're not going to be expected to do anything that isn't unreasonable or too expensive, and that's my stance on it.
Thank you. My name is Carl Maherndl, I'm from St Saviour. My question is about secondary education. I'd like to know, how would you organise secondary education on our island? 2 schools or 3 schools? And if you support or would suggest 3 schools, what would you do with sixth form education as well? Thank you.
LeBrun.
I don't see how anyone can make a commitment at the moment on the number of schools when there's a review underway, there's no evidence or costings being produced by it. And like Matt said, we've got 4 schools at the moment. One of them's the grammar. There's kids that are in there now until they're all through their education. Once they're through, there's only going to be 3 schools anyway. So all the schools are going to be bigger. I've got a 3-year-old little boy. He's going to be state educated, so it's going to affect me as much as the next person. But obviously, I want what's best for him. I'm not going to fight against something that offers the best inclusive education if it's just based on something like traffic. That's something I'm going to have to deal with myself. I drive for a living. All I want is what's best, and to commit to something now is just offering you big shiny promises for your vote. I'm not going to do that.
John Gill, live in St Martin's. Following the assisted dying debate, the state's passed a resolution that there should be far more coordination in palliative care in the community. How do you see that going forward?
Okay, candidate Ross LeBrun.
I think regardless of whether we had assisted dying or not, we would still need palliative care. My partner lost her dad in 2014 to a brain tumour. He had hope all the way through, and it got to the point where he was beyond being mentally capable of making the choice if assisted dying was a thing. And with regards of where the money's going to come from, it's going to be the same as anything else. We need to find new ways of creating income rather than new ways of taking off of the islanders, basically. But yeah, I mean, you're going to have candidates that might tell you that they're going to fix the civil service cost, but then they're also going to increase the nurses' pay by a quarter. So we need to do a bit better thinking than that, and it probably comes down to 0-10 again.
Hi there, my name's Chris Carr and I live in St Martin's. My question is, if we lost our tax haven status, I know that's a swear word, then what's the plan B?
I think if finance was to leave, we'd be screwed in the short term, to be honest. But because there's nothing ready to take over, because everything else has been pretty much neglected and left to fend for itself. I mean, short of turning the island into a little Las Vegas, we haven't got anything. But what we could have is invest in the cruise industry if it ever gets back up on its feet again. We could have a deep water berth, and we could investigate looking at the island becoming a departure port that invites people to the island, and it's just going to take creative thinking like that. We were promised in 2016 by all the candidates pretty much that we were going to diversify the economy, and all that's meant is we've now, instead of finance, we've now also got green finance. So we just need more creative thinking, basically.
Hello, Rob Byrne from the Vale. I'm also doing a podcast on the election called the Guernsey Daily, so check it out. I, like a lot of people, are probably missing going away on holiday to our favourite holiday destinations. I know the Isle of Man's an option. I wanted to know, if you're a holiday destination, what holiday destination would it be and why?
I think holidays are out of the question for us at the moment for the next couple of years. But it'd be France. I love the way of life. I like the bread. There's no one over here can make a decent baguette since Victor Hugo's gone. I like the French attitude as well. They'll stand up and fight for what they believe in. But yeah, it'd be France.
I wasn't here at the start because I couldn't find the time it started. I do apologise, and I apologise if this is going to take me a couple of minutes to get to my question. But I was educated mainly in Guernsey. I trained as a nurse at the PEH and have worked there for over 20 years. I currently have a removal van booked to move off this island next Friday because I cannot afford to live here. I'm a single parent. I have a 14-year-old and a 23-year-old. The telephone, the broadband, the TV licence, the electric going up again, the cost of water, paying my rates to get my the cost of food over here, the cost of fuel, even though we got rid of the tax on fuel, I'm paying a lot more than I ever was in car tax, the price of housing, the cost of Guernsey milk. I went away to work a week agency nurse.
Can I ask you please to
pose
a question?
Yeah, I have got a Guernsey question. What are you going to do for the poor working people of the island? Because it's us that are poor because we can't afford to live here.
The first reply will be Ross LeBrun.
Yeah, the main problem here is affordable housing. I don't know if any of you follow me on Facebook, but it's Vote LeBron, all one word. This is something I've been talking about over the last few days on there. People say about minimum wage and things like that, but I know people that are being paid the London living wage, £10.75 an hour, and they still need financial help. And that's down to the rents and we need more 1 and 2 bed places built, real achievable, affordable homes for people. My business, I've had one particular year where I did very, very well. I've had another year where we scraped by. There's 3 people living off less than a deputy's wage. But we were lucky because our mortgage had dropped from over £2,000 down to about 700 and something, whereas other people, their rents are staying high, and if ours had stayed as high as other people's, we would have been having to look for financial help as well. But that's why...
Hi, Terry St Martin's. Broadly speaking, your policies are pretty much the same. There's not much difference between you. but we still don't get very effective states because there seems to be some flaws in governance, and those have been clearly identified. One of the principal things about governance is the values that we hold. What's your principal value, and how has that been recently challenged, and how did you respond?
Ross LeBrun.
The value I think I can offer is my lived experiences. I don't see the states as pretty representative of the island. Diversity doesn't just mean race or gender, it almost also means your background, and I don't see the states as diverse enough. I think I'm pretty strong-willed, I'm pretty honest too. What I've been challenged by is a lack of recognition of the problems that I face. How am I responding to it? I'm here.